One man lived with something for 36 years. Pregnancy, tumors, obesity, hormonal disorders. And when the truth came out, the whole world would be stunned. My aim is not to create mystery. You will be surprised when you find out what something really is. Welcome to the story of Sanju Bhagat. This happened not so long ago. In the year 1963, a man named Sanju Bhagat opened his eyes to the world at a time when poverty was rampant. Born in the city of Nagpur in India, when India was already in difficult times, this man and his family could barely feed themselves. His family and its members had to work, even if they could not overcome their poverty. Sanju, like many of his family members and neighbors, took a job on a farm and started working. As I said, the ultimate goal could not go beyond a full belly. No matter how hard Sanju worked, the biggest problem for him and his family was always the struggle to make ends meet. His working life, which started in his childhood, was normal. He was in good health, between full and hungry. This life struggle continued without much change until his 20s. It was nothing but a boring and difficult life. Sanju got up in the morning, went to work, worked like a slave, bought as much food as he could with the money he earned, and tried to repeat this monotony in order not to starve to death. When Sanju was in his late 20s, as if the challenges of life were not enough, as if his life was not complicated enough, an interesting problem began to occur. Sanju's belly was growing in a strange way. This was strange, because Sanju was working so hard that there was no way his belly could swell like this. Although he was surprised when his belly started to swell like this, when he couldn't even eat properly, let alone gain weight, he didn't care much afterwards, because his life wasn't prosperous enough to get caught up in such small details. So he did what he had to do. He didn't care and continued to work. Like I said, wake up, go to work, come back from work, eat and repeat. That was life. As the days went by and Sanju's age hovered in his 30s, the bump he didn't care about had become so large and noticeable that people cared and even made fun of it. People compared Sanju to a woman about to give birth, so to speak. Amidst the abuse and the waves, Sanju tried to ignore it. His family was very worried about the lump and kept saying that Sanju should go to the hospital. But despite these worries, the young man could not take time off from work, as his family's livelihood depended entirely on him. You know what I mean by livelihood. There was no comfortable life. A full day was a good day for them. For days and months, Sanju tried to endure this swelling, the discomfort it caused, the pressure from her family, the ridicule from her community. But at the end of it all, when the swelling in her abdomen started pressing on her diaphragm and causing her to stop breathing, she couldn't take it anymore. After collapsing somewhere, she was rushed to a hospital in Mumbai by her friends. As investigations began, it became clear that Sanju's ailment was something shocking that no one could have imagined. In the year 1999, Dr. AJ went to the hospital on his way to work with no expectations, unlike any other day. He woke up, got into his car, pulled into the hospital parking lot, and got out. He went up to his room, put on his gown, and started his shift. He saw a few patients and performed the first intervention on an emergency patient. His morning was as standard as the past days, until Sanju came to the hospital. When he first saw this man's belly that looked like it was about to burst, the first thing that naturally went through his mind was a tumor. This was a man. A pregnancy was out of the question. Sanju was rushed into surgery, and surgical intervention began. But as soon as Dr. Mehta opened this man's insides, an abnormal fluid started coming out of his stomach. It was not blood. After a little cleaning, it took some time for the doctor to realize what he had seen in the man's stomach. It was not a tumor, it was a human being. According to the doctors who operated Dr. Mehta put his hand inside the man and said that there were a lot of bones inside the man. He pulled out first one limb and then another limb. A genitalia, some hair, a chin, a hand, etc. were pulled out of the man's abdomen, which was very difficult to recognize, but later it became clear what it was. After 36 years of life, what came out of Sanju's abdomen was his twin brother, who had also been alive for 36 years. When Dr. Mehta realized what it was, he collapsed. Doctors tried to understand how this could happen. Initially, they thought it might be a variant of a phenomenon known as Vanishing twin syndrome. Vanishing twin syndrome is a condition in which twins or triplets are present in the early weeks of pregnancy, but later on some of these gestational sacs disappear and turn into singleton pregnancies. In other words, only one of the triplets remains inside. These situations can be recognized today with ultrasound technology, of course, but this should be subject to a control, because the expectant mother cannot be aware of this missing fetus unless it is checked. But this could not have been Sanju's case, because even if there was a derivative of this phenomenon, like the one I have described, and even if it had not disappeared, that twin would have been in the womb and would have been born dead. What happened to Sanju points to a disease that is much, much rarer in the world. A fetus inside a fetus was first recorded in the year 1818. As the name suggests, this is when a pregnant mother has another baby inside her baby. Until today, there have only been an average of 200 cases. In this case, one twin lives in the womb as a host, while the other twin tries to live as a parasite in the host twin's body. I say parasite because we're not talking about a fetus, a human-like thing, as one might expect. And I can't show you the exact thing that was extracted from the man because YouTube policies don't allow it. But the point is that in these cases, unlike Sanju's case, the host twin or his parents realize that something is wrong and intervene. In contrast, Sanju, because of the hardship, because of the living conditions that I've told you about, if he felt any discomfort in his early life, other than the swelling, he could never say that, and he continued to work and take care of his family. As a result, he unknowingly kept his twin alive inside him for 36 years. In fact, what makes Sanju even rarer among the rare cases that have been encountered up to that point is that the man survived with the man's twin until that age. Because while in common cases, this parasitic twin can cause serious problems, such as bleeding and breathing interruptions that can end the life of the original twin, in Sanju's case, it was only in his 36th year that he showed any serious symptoms. Fortunately, although it was a very interesting case for the medical community, doctors completely cleaned Sanju's insides and saved him from this parasitic twin. As I said, don't think of a fully human being. This parasitic twin that was removed was actually a living thing, a piece of flesh and bones, the size of a baby, but with some limbs developed and some not, with one limb without one limb, not developed enough to be called a human being. So there is no reason to feel sorry for that being in this situation. On the contrary, Sanju's miraculous salvation is a very happy situation. After all these experiences and treatments, Sanju returned to his village to work for his worried family. This young man, who became world famous and made his name in the medical literature, was still only concerned about being able to feed himself and his family. I hope you enjoyed Sanju's story. There are hundreds of thousands of events happening all over the world that make us wonder what we will see next. Sometimes we tell them, and sometimes we listen to them. Please don't forget to like and comment if you like it.